If you ever needed proof that Boruto 2 Blue Vortex has officially stopped playing games, then ladies and gentlemen, we just got it, because Kashin Koji didn't just see a bad future. He didn't just see a future where the Shinju win. He saw a future where Mamushi, the destined of the Shinju clones, actually ended up killing Ada. Yes, Ada, the walking Senrigan, the singularity of fate, the girl whose entire existence has been treated like a cheat code when it comes to assisting the heroes, and also as Boruto's personal nightmare because of omnipotence. Kashin Koji flat out confirms this ain't a metaphor, this ain't symbolic, this was the future. A future that he is desperately trying to prevent by using Boruto as his trump card. And here's the wild part. Ada dying potentially means that Damon died first, which means someone or something took down one of the strongest defensive characters we have in the series. Now, that six-eyed fraud in Jujutsu Kaisen kicking the bucket, that broke the internet, but Ada dying in a timeline that nobody noticed, well, in my opinion, obviously trolling, that's the real disaster, because we respect Ada over here on this channel. But it also quietly confirms three things. Damon met a threat on his exact level or higher, and he definitely lost. Bug Shinju clone Mamushi has a narrative destiny that ties very perfectly into the pun behind Ada, Damon, and Bug's names. And worst of all, the timeline that we were originally headed towards, it was one of destruction because one of the three singularities of fate were erased. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, is breaking down exactly why Ada's confirmed death in the alternate timeline is one of the biggest, most overlooked reveals in Boruto history, and why the current story is basically dangling on a single fraying thread. Also, before we begin, the chapter drops officially on the 19th this month, so make sure to read it for free over at Manga Plus or the Shonen Jump app. Both apps are free. Manga Plus reads help out the mangaka of your favorite series, but Shonen Jump app has a way better layout in my opinion, though I read both. The chapter review will drop 2 to 3 days after the official, since the review editor needs roughly 48 hours to get the editing quality like the reviews for 2 Blue Vortex chapters 1 to 27, and there's a 13-hour time zone difference between us since he's over in India. So thank you for your patience and your understanding. So first and foremost, we have to start with what Kashin Koji's revelation truly means. Kashin Koji revealed in chapter 28 something pretty straightforward on the surface. He saw a future where Mamushi got the baby oil and killed Ada. But underneath, this is the moment that confirms that Koji isn't just speculating about the future. He's actively navigating branching timelines. We all knew that, but now we get to see it. Boruto isn't just trying to win this fight. He's being positioned as this agent who can reroute destiny away from the path that Koji had witnessed with this brand new update that came after Boruto changed the timeline by having Kawaki remove his limiters sooner. And the reason why Ada is so important is pretty simple. Ada sees the present and the past up to 19 years ago. Koji sees potential futures. Boruto acts in the moving in terms of being that paddle on this stream of fate where he can alter the timeline as they roll down to that potential perfect ending. These three exist as a singular, triangular system in the navigation in the narrative, almost like three pieces of Buddhist cosmology: the past, the present, and the future. And because Ada is one of those anchors of the present, the one whose Senrigan is literally that all-seeing eye, removing her collapses that entire structure. Without Ada, Koji can see future danger coming, but he has no updates on what's happening in real time. Without Ada, Boruto can act, but he lacks that intel network to respond to events in real time. Ada dying wasn't simply the death of a character. It was the death in the present tense of the story. It means that the timeline lost its central point of orientation, and the Shinju won because of it. Now, That now brings me to why Ada dying obviously confirms that Damon lost first. So here's where things get terrifying, and the Damon fanboys are probably getting their pitchforks, but I'm standing by it. Just like I stood by, like, oh, Sasuke cut Code's eye, but it was off guard. Therefore, you can't really use that as a feat to upscale Sasuke, because everything points towards that being an off guard moment. Well, here's the same thing here. Ada only ever separated from Damon in one part of the story in this entire franchise. That was when she was trying to help Kawaki escape from Sasuke and all the other Konoha ninja in Boruto Part 1, when Kawaki was completely depleted of chakra to the point he couldn't even use Sukuna Hikona at that point. If Sasuke found him, Kawaki would have died, because they were all under the assumption he did something to Naruto. He's hostile towards the village. He won't say whether or not Naruto's alive or dead. We're gonna kill the guy. That's why Amada was freaking out, because Kawaki was close to being killed. That was the only moment where she broke her rule of Damon never leaves her side. Why? Because she judged the threat level at that point in time to be manageable. She knew that Damon wasn't needed. She was literally planning to go there, introduce herself to Kawaki. She said he wasn't going to be able to escape, but if he came with her, nobody would harm her. Obviously, she was planning to go back to that room where she was at with Damon and use Damon to protect Kawaki. Every other moment, Damon is glued to her like an unkillable dog, an unkillable guard dog at that. So what does it tell us that Ada dies in another timeline? It tells us that Damon was already defeated. There is no other explanation needed. Ada, while she can fight, she hates fighting. She's not a warrior. And she would never ever enter a dangerous situation without her knight. Because yes, Damon being called a knight isn't just a cute metaphor. This isn't something done by a girl that has a princess complex. That's not the case here. If you think that, you are mistaken, and this next part's going to explain to you why that's the case. So in order to understand this, we have to understand something Naruto's story has referenced a few times, which is the Shogi symbolism. There's Shogi symbolism of Ada's knight. So here's what you should know. In Japanese Shogi, you know that game that Asuma and Shikamaru were playing? The knight piece, it is very unique. It jumps around unpredictably. It bypasses conventional movement. It protects from angles that other pieces cannot do. And it is often used to guard the king, the most important strategic unit. In this example, Ada is not treating the king the way that Asuma did. The king was supposed to be the children of the future of the village. Ada views herself as that king. She has to be protected. Damon fits this role perfectly when you look at it. His reflection ability punishes any attacker, whoever even thinks about harming himself or Ada. As long as he's touching her, that power transfers over to her. He acts from angles unrelated to physical movement. He is unpredictable by the nature of his character. He's an uncontrollable trap piece. Damon does what he wants when he wants, and Ada relies on him to keep her safe at all times. By calling Damon her knight, the story was telling us this: Ada is that king, Damon is the protector, and knocking out the knight leaves that king exposed. So if Ada is dead in Koji's vision, then that means that her knight fell first, which is absolutely insane because Damon has never once fought at full power at any point in the story. The story has intentionally kept his true power from being revealed, sealed almost like it's a trump card. This fits again because of how much Ikimoto takes inspiration from Dragon Ball, from the way that he panels to how he does fights to also the way that he writes. In particular, the way that he writes power expression. That is why Kishimoto told us back in 2016, power is going to be expressed differently in Boruto. How Kishimoto expresses power and how Ikimoto expressed power, two different things. But someone like Mamushi forced Damon to reveal his true power, and he still killed him in that other timeline. That's the only conclusion we can draw to, because the next piece taken was the king. She was not going to rush to save Sarada or Sumire or Konohamaru or God forbid Kiba if they were in danger. Not without Damon there. Following how her character is written, even if Kawaki was facing somebody, she would not have gone there unless it was deemed to be safe. And if he was in danger, she would have taken Damon because she would want to protect Kawaki. And if it was Mamushi, she damn sure would have taken Damon because Ada is scared of Mamushi. Now, this brings me to the next thing that I think that isn't getting enough love here, but OG followers of the channel, you know exactly where this is going, which is the computer science puns and why it makes Ada's death extremely poetic. So this goes back to the Toriyama stuff. Toriyama with his characters would always have name puns. Boma in Japanese is Bluma. Bluma as in bloomers. Goku Kakarot carrot. Every Dragon Ball character for the most part has a name pun, even Oolong. I say that to say this. Boruto under Ikimoto has also used name puns, and it's done so in a way more brilliant than I think people realize. Video that explains every card and remembers tech pun meaning will be linked in the description box, but here's what you should know about Ada, Damon, and Bug. It's one of the most brilliant uses of it. Ada, when you spell it in the way that the pun is intended in Japanese, it is E-I-D-A. But in all the official merchandise in Japanese and in every translation except for English, they caught the pun. It is a tech pun. That's why you don't see bug as bagu, code as in kodo. They changed the spelling to reflect that. So with Ada, it's not E-I-D-A, but it is ADA. Ada Lovelace, the first computer programmer. Ada computer programming language. The Ada language is known for safety, precision, and reliability, just like her Senrigan is a very reliable asset when it comes to seeing things. So in Boruto, Ada has been used as a damn near flawless information network. She is the perfect observer. She is a living system for processing data about the world, whether it be in real time or whether it be events that happened in the past. She can tell you what happened up to the moment of her birth, which at this point would have been 19 years ago. She is basically a walking debug console. Now with Damon, Damon stands for background daemons in computing. Daemons in technology are background processes. They run constantly. They protect and maintain critical systems, just like Damon protects his sister. They react automatically, just like Damon's Shinjutsu ability. They are invisible until they are needed. Damon in Boruto, again, protects Ada automatically. He reflects any threat that is coming in the background before it happens. He reacts without conscious effort. He exists for the system that is Ada. He is literally her background defense protocol. Then when you look at Bug, it's pretty simple. Bug is in a software bug. And that's where this death is so beautiful. A bug in programming is a flaw that crashes systems. It breaks processes. It causes unpredictable failures. And who created Mamushi, Bug's chakra? Bug's Shinju clone is literally a system error that is being made for manifest. That is why Mamushi being named after the most venomous snake in Japan is so important. He is an apex predator. And what does Bug do to a perfect Ada system? Well, it causes failure, it causes collapse, and it causes the program to crash. So in the timeline that Kashin Koji saw, Ada, the Ada system herself, she was consumed and destroyed by a bug. Narratively, symbolically, linguistically, this is absolute perfection. Mamushi killing Ada is not random. It's the logical conclusion of the pun that is built into their names from the start. And it's not just these characters. Again, every card and her member has a tech pun name, and it also relates to their powers. So that now brings me to the Buddhist framework and the importance of singularities of fate in general. So here's the thing, Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, it keeps building on this theme of singularities. It gets brought up again in this chapter. People who distort the karmic flow of destiny. Boruto, Ada, Kashin Koji, they all represent three aspects of Buddhist temporal philosophy. Koji, the future, and premonition, Koji sees multiple possible outcomes. He sees the outcome of multiple unresolved karmic events. He looks into the deterministic future, a future collapse, if you will. Ada, on the other hand, she sees the present and she has all-seeing awareness of things in the past. Ada embodies the right awareness in Buddhism. She literally perceives everything happening right now and the karmic traces of the past up to the moment of her birth. She is the central stabilizer in a way. In Buddhist cosmology, that's also something that you see when you remove awareness and ignorance. When those are gone, it ends with the collapse of the world. Then with Boruto, he is a tool of change. He is basically agency itself. He represents the liberation being put into action. That is the goal, to liberate from samsara. He is the karmic correcting force, the one who intervenes to create a future free from the suffering that Koji has predicted with 10 directions via all those possible outcomes. Together, these three, which Naruto, you have teams of 3. So with these 3, you have awareness, Ada, vision, Koji, action, Boruto. If either of these things disappears, then that wheel of Dharma, which Kawaki's eye is the Dharma wheel, it's the Dharma wheel, the design. It stops turning properly. Ada dying means no awareness, no understanding, no real-time correction, no way to stabilize the present. It is a death in the middle of a point of change. It is a moment, the timeline, where it becomes doomed. Ada dying is the Buddhist collapse of samasati, which is right mindfulness. And without mindfulness, no path can be walked. The only one of these singularities of fate that is expendable is Kashin Koji, which that can be a whole nother video in the future. But here's the thing, Koji saw the exact moment the path to destruction began. Ada's death wasn't a tragedy. It was the karmic breaking point. And that brings me to the next point, the most important point in my opinion. So that is why this reveal that Ada was destined to die makes this current story way more intense. So this reveal fundamentally changes the framing of the entire battle that's happening in the present. You're not watching a fight. You're watching Boruto try to correct a destiny, an original future. Damon likely fell. Ada died. Himawari also died. Basically, this would have been an outcome that potentially led to Jura winning, meaning that the earth might have been consumed by the creation of a chakra fruit. Boruto isn't trying to save Ada in the normal sense. He's trying to rewrite that grim future that Kashin Koji's already witnessed. This creates a narrative tension that did not exist before. Number one, every moment that Ada is alive now is borrowed time until this is resolved. She is technically a character who's already died once. It was in a alternate timeline, but still, she is basically only escaping death because Koji and Boruto are interfering with the timeline. Damon's survival is also another giant question mark, because we know that he was basically destined to fall since Ada was the one that was taken, which means the series might be actively rewriting a future where this unstoppable child ended up falling. Number 3, Ada's role as a singularity of fate, it becomes more fragile now. She isn't immortal, she isn't inevitable. She's now vulnerable, which raises the stakes massively because we know what we can lose if she falls, if anyone fails. And then number 4, every action Boruto takes now carries world-altering weight itself. This isn't about training to beat Kawaki. This isn't about training to beat Jura himself, even though Jura is a major antagonist. This is a fight to keep the planet on a branch, on a timeline where existence itself can continue. And the 5th and most important thing is that this means that Mamushi is no longer just a minor Shinju clone like some people might have tried to write him off to be. He is a confirmed future Ada killer. He's already won once, and that makes him terrifying. This is why Koji is so desperate. This is why Boruto must succeed. This is why the story suddenly feels more urgent, because for the first time, the manga revealed there is a version of this world where Ada does die. You can argue that in the timelines where Code made a chakra fruit that happened, but this is the first time we see her dead. We are now watching an attempt to undo that future. Ada's confirmed death in the future that never came to pass. It isn't just some cool bit of lore. It is the death of the present. It is the fall of a night. It is the collapse of the timeline. It is the fulfillment of long-standing name puns in the terms of technology. It is the breaking of a karmic chain. It is the moment where Boruto's role as a singularity becomes absolutely essential. It tells us Damon is not this unbeatable foe. Ada's power is not a shield from destiny. Bug's legacy was always meant to be catastrophic because of his name. Mamushi is a real threat, not a side plot. That is why Mamushi and Bug had to be dealt with. The timeline is actively being rewritten by Boruto. And the future that Kashin Koji saw, it is still waiting to snap if Boruto ever slips up. In other words, they've already died once. Now the entire story is making sure these characters don't die again. This isn't just Boruto saving a friend. This is Boruto saving the entire present. And that is why this reveal is one of the single most important pieces of narrative information in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex so far, if for no other reason than Ada is one of my favorite characters in 2 Blue Vortex, so obviously I had to make this a long video. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, clicking here on the left for the best of Naruto Explained playlist, or click here on the right, check out more videos from my other 2 anime channels.